So we have to stay serious today.
I know. Now let's get serious. All right. So yeah, so over here, hold on, let me get over to our server. I guess, oh, not I guess, but I put this. Hey, what would you like to see for next week? A Viking warrior that's like a painterly style versus a sci-fi city production art. So let's go in that direction. That was a good amount of votes, but oh yeah, like almost 60-40. So it's pretty good, and I think it's kind of fun because it's something a little different, right, than what I was doing the past few weeks. But what I realized through these past couple live streams is that having a topic of doing art, that's actually kind of the easy thing. It's like, what do we talk about? you know? So my like super awesome like conversation helper from last week, Hunter, like I'm glad you're here, dude, because maybe we could strike up a conversation again, you know what I mean? And that doesn't mean like anyone else. Like, please feel free to write a question down, or if there's just like a topic, we can just like, I'm sure, dive deep into that topic and just like wormhole into all these different, tangents and stuff, which is kind of fun to do. What do you guys absorb lately? Like content, not entertainment, not art, but like on a anything self improvement. Let's talk about that. You know, what do you guys do? What do you guys absorb? What's up, Tony?
What's up?
What up? What up? Got some skateboard decks for you, dude.
Yeah. Thanks.
Whenever I see you, man, seriously, I got you.
It's like super cool.
Yeah, but
Can you hear me?
self improvement. What, like, do you guys listen to things when you paint or do art?
Can I
I've been
can
trying to do more.
Called inner excellence, and it's just like mindset thinking that's just kind of helpful, I think, as an artist, of not tying yourself to results, right, and tying yourself to more like progress and the process, which is really cool.
Mm,
Because sometimes I
mm.
think it's easy to be like, I'm only good on my good days, and not seeing the benefit of the progress you make, even when you're attempting to do something and you fail.
Like fail
So yeah,
forward
that's
type stuff.
really cool.
All right, let's do this. I have no idea what I'm gonna. It's gonna be a sci-fi city. Let's just go there. A little bit blue sky. Um, production. I guess for me, production just means like take shortcuts to the most effective, straightest way to the end. So this is exactly what John was not talking about, right? Like enjoying the process. This is like purely like production, right? Like get to the end goal. So that's so funny how like it's like this thing that we do called concept art can be spun in so many different ways. Be enjoyable. It could be just like a means to an end. Do you guys listen to audiobooks?
Yeah, I personally listen a lot, and at the moment you were talking about self improvement. What I'm trying to do is like to improve discipline and um, to study with a real method, so where you can see your improvement through tests. Like example, I give myself I'm learning anatomy, so in the
Uh-huh.
end of the week I do a test and see if I achieve my goal. If not, I go back and I repeat. So I'm doing, it's like almost like a sport thing, mindset. So in this
Okay.
way, you can see your improvement, because I believe like many people think like art is something like abstract. So if you feel, you do it. If you're not feeling, you don't do it.
Oh,
But if you
uh-huh.
want to if you want to learn like to have a real result, I believe like having a structure is the best way, so you can see it, your
Hmm.
line of improvement.
I'm very in line with that type of mindset too, personally. Um, so like a lot of the I guess information, like, self motivation, things like that. Like, I'll listen to, certain things click better than others for me. So like, what do you listen to? Is it like, um
Depend. There are like Seth Godin. I don't know how to say his name. So some are from philosophy, like Niccolo Machiavelli, uh, the Prince. Uh, so you can take that concept and you can apply to your art or whatever. So
mhm.
how to be efficient, because sometimes you want to be efficient, but life is every day is different, and you have you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, and your schedule going to change. So how you can be productive, try to do stuff even where life happen and stuff happening. So it's you can't for myself, you can find just a book who can teach you, I don't know, like discipline, or there is like a tactic, a plan to follow. So you have to find yourself a different book, like a really good book. I believe for everybody is from Robert Greene Mastery.
Mhm.
So it's really nice. Like a
Oh, that's
book
cool.
where you can follow, like where not just like there are so many books, they say, oh, do this and try to motivate you. I believe that they are not really helpful, but book with example, with real life example from different people with different background, that can be helpful,
Mm.
because something might work for you, James. You live in US, but if you come from another country, that thing doesn't work. So you need
Mm. Mhm.
different point of view, and to see which one is better for your where you live, or where you are in your life at that moment. So
Right, right. That makes a lot of sense, man. That's cool. That's great. I mean, and I think what's important is there's not one size fits all, for the things that
yeah.
really speak and motivate to people, because kind of in a nutshell, what you're talking about and what John earlier was talking about are kind of not kind of, they're like totally different, you know what I mean? They're completely different, like thought process, even getting down to like the same, what might be like getting to a similar result of things, which is kind of cool, which is really great to see that there's a lot of different ways to just get get to there, you know.
Yeah,
It doesn't
I
have to
believe
always be one way. Yeah.
it depend of your personality. So something might work for somebody, something might doesn't work for somebody. So it's important to explore and see what fit better for you.
Mm, totally, totally. And you know what's a good example of that is like if anybody has like done sports, for example, like a certain sport to a really serious degree, where like they're like, let's say you have like a coach, and sometimes there's like this change of a coach. Even just the coach change can immediately bring an improvement to your skill set. It happens in sports, it happens in like education, it happens in art, right? So it's like, not only does it's important to like experiment and try to learn from all these different ways, not just what you think might work for you, because that's limited to your experience, right? Like,
Yeah,
so it's, yeah. But it's tough, isn't it, to like be so open to, like, I'm gonna try everything. It has to be like pretty calculated. So I don't know.
I believe that the thing I was talking about before, the testing. This is a thing I learned from Steve Houston. I don't know if you guys know him.
Mhm.
So when you learn a topic, doesn't matter was it, it can be art or whatever. You need to practice, and to test it. So if when you do the test in the end of the month or in the end of the week, you can see the result. And if the results are good, like you have to push a little bit to make a little bit harder, but not too much, because if you make too hard the test, you're going to fail. But if you
Right.
make too easy, there is no challenge, there is no growth. But if you find the right spot in the end of the month when you do the test and you pass it, you have like a really big hit of dopamine. You see your improvement, and art become easier. Like
Mm.
I learned this, like this is a thing. I hope I know this before, but you learn through try and error. Before
Oh
you
yeah.
just do practice, but like blind practice, like copy stuff. And I develop a good eye, but that's it, nothing else. But
Hmm.
if you want to like improve your skills, like in specific, and this is can apply for everything. I not just art, like in sport,
Right.
and I learned this more about from sport, like listening athlete, because they have a limited time, because at 30 they can, like that's it, your career is over.
Hmm.
So they
Hmm.
are really tough, and they find the right method to improve fast, because they don't have so much time. They need to be the best, they need to be competitive, so they have the best way to get discipline to practice. And I tried to copy a little bit their way and up to apply to art and see if it's fit and if it's not. Yeah.
Because you know what's the similarity with all of those things is that people that want to excel use certain recipes to do that. And sometimes when you look at like a really good a person that plays really good golf, or like the best Shotokan karate, practitioner, or like a UFC fighter, or the best pianist, they tend there's almost like the similarity. It's different practice, like different action, but there's like it's almost the same mind, you know. At least that's in my opinion what is so attractive about people that are at that level. I'm just like, whoa, that's like that. I don't know. I don't know if this is making sense, but like,
Yeah, that's
yeah, it's kind of crazy, dude. I totally agree with what you mean.
yeah, what we are seeing right now. What's the plan for your painting?
Oh, I don't know. I'm just making a sci-fi city. I'm just totally making a sci-fi city, and my plan is to just like paint enough to just kind of fill in the time. But I guess for example, I just want to lay in a base city. And right now I try to practice like a three-step method, which is basically think about my layout, right? Just I want to lay out the city, and then I want to kind of light it with mood, and then I want to get into a narrative later, you know. So right now I'm just gonna like put stuff around and just make it like a layout, whether it's layout's a tricky term because it's functional, right? It's supposed to be a functional thing, but it could also just be like, oh, I like the compositional layout, just whatever's pleasing to the eye, you know. Sometimes I don't like to use that because it's like it's not enough intent, you know. I like to push the intention a little bit more, so I'd rather think about like, oh, should I make you want to go to that building, or should I make you want to go at least to the background? At least what's an initial intent, and I'll just start from there, I guess. So um, yeah, I'm just gonna try to use a lot of photos in this to like just design it, I guess. Because it's like at least in terms of doing art, isn't it pretty amazing at the level that whatever level you're at, how many things your mind has to simultaneously think about at the same time to do this. Isn't it kind of crazy? Right?
Yeah.
And sometimes for me, juggling all those balls, for example, is can either go well or it can go really bad. Where I just drop it all. Because I'm not like something's missing. Like I missed a step or whatever. you know. So I guess at least for right now, it's having a system a bit is kind of the intention, you know, having a little bit of a system to rely on, you know. But let's see here. Let's just design something. I should talk less. Just make something, make a rhythm. I like music. I like songs because of the rhythm, the beat. After I like the beat, then I'll listen to the lyrics. And they'll be like, oh, this song's really deep. You know, oh, it has a good message. But I rarely listen to the lyrics, the actual message, if I don't like the beat. So for when I paint, it's kind of like that. It's like find a rhythm that you like. You know? That's what I'm trying to find. Just find a rhythm. You know? Boom, boom, boom. Or, you know, just like, it's kind of like, that's what I'm trying to figure out at this point. A gesture that's like, oh, cool, yeah, like, oh, yeah, you know, it's a different rhythm completely, versus like that, you know. So at least being very comfortable, because I'm not drawing. I'm not doing any painting, right? I'm using photos to just put down marks to represent. Oh, that's a road, or it's a crevice where, you know, it could be a highway with little cars going through it, whatever it is, right? I'm not drawing it, so my mind doesn't have to worry about drawing. You know, it could just worry about rhythms. You know, something that kind of looks interesting. You know, so that's what I think is kind of fun about like evolving the techniques sometimes, so that you can do different. I don't know, see it differently, or I don't know, just experiment, I suppose. Yeah, just right. I don't know what it is. I don't know what this element is. Okay, but when you see like a rhythm, you're like, oh, well, okay, here, maybe there.
Yeah, this thing remind me. There was like a cool thing Steve Houston was talking about. Sometimes, like it's better if you don't render everything, because if you give all the answer in your painting, there is nothing interest for the viewer. So if you leave some spot with like, I don't know, some rough area or some messy stuff, can be more interesting, more efficient
Oh
for the
yeah,
viewer, so they can feel that space.
yep.
And
And you know what's good to know? See, that's like that mentality is I would say like a traditional illustrator's mentality. It's well, I guess I know why, because you know you have a skeleton behind you. You look like a traditional kind of guy with art. You know, at least you're into that stuff. So that's such an amazing thing. Like when you look at like a John Singer Sargent painting or something, there is so much suggestion there that it's like, oh man, your brain just like makes it all up for you. There's so much that the brain does for the viewer. Let me show you guys what I mean. If you guys don't know John Singer Sargent, so at Art Center, when we were in school, we had this assignment where it's like bring in your favorite artist reference. You know, and this is like, oh, man, 2002, you know? So internet was kind of hard. Like you go to the library to use the internet, you know, that kind of thing. And if you had a website, like you were like, whoa, how do you have a website? You're amazing. You know what I mean? Here, let me see if I can find here. But yeah, it's like, you know, I have a lot of reference of, you know, Craig Mullins, Jamie Jones, you know, Dussault, and you know all these, you know, contemporary right now people. But then there's like stuff from just like back in the day. Oh, that's it's like the most insane stuff where you're like face, hand. Oh, what is that, dude? Just like just the suggestion of things, man. It's so, and like graphic, boom, the rendering, and then just a graphic shape. There's like style there's a style in it, you know? Like you paint this long. It's just beautiful. If you ever have a chance to go see like Jerome or Sargent, go to like the not necessarily the Louvre, but the d'Orsay, the Museum d'Orsay, where you get all the Orientalist paintings that are there. Oh, go. If you ever have a chance, like it's something to see with your eyes. It's insane. It's insane. Let's see. Yeah, but anyway,
Yeah,
There's
I'll
this
agree on that. It's very different that you see paintings in real life than just the pictures. I went to the Getty and saw Monet's Haze, and then it looks flat, but you go to the side to see the dimension. You see he just dropped a group of paint on it, but it got shadow and light. You're just like, how did he do this?
Isn't it? It's crazy, right? And we talk about like speed nowadays, like oh, I could paint this fast, man. Back then, they were like, this painting took from this year to this year, like it spanned like 15 years. It's insane, right? Funny, funny, funny. So I see a rhythm, so we got to pull it out. We got to like extract it somehow. And so I'm just like painting underneath the layer to push darks to like push forward the lighten layer. Does that make sense? Right? Because yeah, just like we're just using Photoshop for Photoshop. But this layer right here is making us see that shapes. I don't know, they're bridges or something. Cool, right? What's funny is I think I was watching a Dylan Cole. If you guys don't know Dylan Cole, just look him up. I was watching a Dylan Cole like demo, and he did like this city made out of like engine parts, like Audi engines and just like Lamborghini blocks, and it looks so cool. It like looks just so industrial, And the funny thing is like he was like, oh yeah, and I use this photo for that, and the same photos over here, and it's funny that just like you were saying, Christian, how the eye does so much trickery because the same photo or the same texture, just like in a different repetition, we just perceive it to be different, right? And it's like I think as an artist, we're just like doing these tricks to just fool the eye. It's fun. It's cool. I think our job is pretty excellent. Just fill in these shapes.
Hey, something a bit off topic, but some people might have missed the notification on Discord because I think you did not tag them directly. So I can drop a
Oh,
message there if you don't mind, and you
how do
tag
I
people
do
there.
that?
You can type at everyone to tag people, so they'll get a direct
Oh, here. Let's
notification.
do. Okay, let's do at everyone, just like this.
Yeah. Also, like paste the link for this meeting because people might think it's in the Discord itself, the event. Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Let me go all the way down here. The live stream 3 is live. All right. Let me grab this link here, and then that should be it. Send now. All right. Cool. Thank you, Dave.
Yeah.
Learning stuff all the time. Fail forward. I always thought this was cool. This is like a computer, right? It's like a case, desktop case, but it has interesting rhythms. Should have a DJ play some rhythms. So what do you guys do for fun? What's outside of art? Let's talk about some hobbies. Ooh, maybe not.
I like to play chess. or some CS.
Oh, Counter Strike!
Yeah,
Hell yeah, dude! I used to play so much Counter Strike, man. Oh my gosh.
that's awesome.
Oh my goodness. And like speaking about like the pre-internet days where it's like, you didn't have like I didn't know a lot of people that had really fast internet at home, so we used to go to those like internet cafes and just like mob up with like a bunch of friends and you're just playing Counter Strike.
LAN parties, yeah, it's
Yep,
awesome.
yep, yep. That was fun, man. Good times, dude. Oh man. All right, I'm just seeing shapes. Hey Tony, you got a really good piece, dude. That was nice, man.
Which one?
The Jets.
Mm,
That's
thanks.
cool. That was cool. Yeah, I mean, all the stuff was cool, but I think what I was looking at just the other day, or kind of recently, right? I think it was a pretty pretty sweet looking piece, man.
Yeah, I was actually looking at Dylan Cole.
Ah, yeah, man. You know what's
Like,
interesting about Dylan Cole?
yeah,
He is not a traditionally trained artist. He went to UCLA,
what's that?
the University of California, Los Angeles. So it's like an academic college, and you know he it's not he didn't go like an art school. He didn't go like art center, but he learned. He's like very technically smart with like software and knowing the kind of connection of like digital painting and matte painting into film. Like it's a very technical process. Um, yeah, it's very interesting. It's super cool to know that like not everyone comes from that pedigree of like, oh yeah, I went to a $300,000 a year art school. It's like who can do that really. It's very
What I
it's
was
it's not
thinking
everywhere.
was,
Huh?
what I was thinking was his type of photo bash. Like, it's like very realistic.
Oh
Like
yeah, dude.
for example, you play with the shapes, and it has like an abstract type of look, and he has the images like for the specific trees or specific compositions, and that's
He's
what
like asset. He's an asset monster. You know what I mean? He has like anything for everything. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Or vice versa, everything for anything. Like, and it's kind of the brilliance I think with concept design. Sometimes it's not just your idea. Oftentimes the idea is like just half of it. It's can you execute it? There has to be a technical way to execute the idea. And if it's not meant like at an equal level, then like the execution doesn't justify the idea. Like it doesn't sell it well enough to be like, and then sometimes if the idea is not developed and it's overly here, then it's just like a good looking image, right? And it goes sometimes, in a studio, not sometimes, but 90% of the people that are there are not art driven people. They are there on a technical reason. They serve a different purpose within production. They're not art,
Mhm.
right? So oftentimes when we do art, it's like it's like, oh yeah, the composition, and they're like, what are you talking about? you know it's completely different. This is
Yeah.
how bad it is. I remember I was working at this one studio and I had a picture of Craig Mullins art on my screen. I was like looking, I was like googling all over it, right? And then a coworker walks by and goes, hey James, that's an awesome painting, dude. And I was like, oh, come on, man. Come on, man. No way. That's Craig Mullins, dude. Like, are you come on, dude. You can't disrespect Craig Mullins like that. And he's like, oh man, I do like rigging, man. Like I don't like this look like your stuff. It looks good. Like, and he couldn't tell. And I was like, it kind of dawned on me, like, in the art department, we're like this super focus group that like really knows these like subtle differences in artists, and the subtle differences are like ginormous differences to us, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I don't know. That was yeah, Dylan Cole. Anyway, back to Dylan Cole. He's cool. He's awesome. And this is what I like to do. I like to like design a part where I'm like satisfied. I like that part. I don't know, for some reason it looks like some uh gosh, like Ghost in the Shell, old dystopian city, like apartment decks. It just feels like that to me, you know? So I'm like, cool. That's my rhythm. I want to keep that like some rhythm that's in there, you know? So I copied it over here. I'm just gonna use it again. You know? This is like a really funny looking silhouette, so let's fix it, right? Landing pads on everything. There's a landing pad on every rooftop. Probably have some ships in here, right? And you know what's good about what Christian was saying too about like some of these traditional painters is, I don't know if you guys traditionally paint, but because like we're working with a fixed canvas size when you paint traditionally, your mark making, it has to be like, when we work in the background, one of the things that I hate about doing digital is sometimes I get too tight in the background, and when I work my way forward, I can't get more detail. Like I shot myself in the foot, you know? So actually like painting traditionally is a great way to understand, like, to keep that optical understanding of stuff back there has to be looser. It can be more suggested, you know? Um yeah.
I believe even drawing like in traditionally with different medium, doesn't matter what you use, it's really useful for that thing you're talking about, because limit the tool has their own limitation. If you draw with, I don't know, pencil, charcoal, whatever, you have now you have to think how you do, like, I don't know, one face. But if you draw with charcoal, you have different limitation. If you draw with
Mhm.
pencil, you have different one. And this can be really helpful to do a good simplification, to change your way of looking. Because previously, like I started drawing like uh, I start drawing like traditional way, and after I start doing digitally, and I stuck with that for a long time. And the problem was,
Mm.
I like every time I was going so in detail, and like trying to make everything perfect, and that's the worst thing. It doesn't matter. It's useless.
Mhm.
Nobody needs to see like this the skin perfectly rendered. But that's what happened when you zoom in. You just
Exactly.
do this kind of stuff. But if you do it in traditionally, like just for practice, I'm talking about just for, if you try to render something in tradition, can be really useful to help you to have this mindset of simplification, to be more efficient with the simplification. And
Mm.
after, when you try to do that in Photoshop, like you do automatically, like you don't lose time like before. At least this is
Mhm.
what happened to me right now.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. That's like seriously talking about some important stuff, man.
Can I ask you something about Dylan Cole, James?
Sure, yeah, yeah.
What do you think? Like he's a really great art director. What do you think are his best skill? His creativity, his ability to talk with people, or his ability to execute the idea to reach that level? Of course, contribution are
Mm.
important too, but as an artist, what do you think are the best quality?
Okay, my answer to that is he he is able to understand the task and use the proper methods, every method that you just talked about, whether it's high value production art, whether it's good communication, whether it's using the most effective tools, or stopping and redirecting. Those are all those are individual punches, but he knows how to use them in a fight, so to speak. Right? So like in that situation, if James Cameron is like, hey, we got to build this set, these are our parameters, this is what we're dealing with, this is like, our problems. Okay, okay, all right, let's do it this way. And I think that comes through experience, that comes through learning from different people. If we only knew how to paint our way out of problems, then that's the only problem we know how to, that's the only screwdriver we know how to use. But if we then learn from a person that uses a hammer really well, uses glue really well, then all of a sudden we fuse these methods together, and it becomes like that's problem solving. My answer to that is, I think his ability is actually understanding the problem and choosing the proper method for it, instead of saying, this is the way I do it all the time, I'm going to fix it this way, that would be my, and I think the higher you go in experience, initially you solve problems with art, yes, and design, and then translating to other departments, and then maybe it's handling artists or design underneath you, management plus art. These things can grow, because his first job, I'm sure it wasn't production designer. It was being a designer, being a concept artist, but eventually got up to that role of being able to do that. So yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you for the answer.
No problem. That's what I think. That's what I realized. It's like at a certain point, when I was under this assumption in art school that as you go up this creative ladder of positions, like lead and senior and art director, creative director, they're supposed to be just more amazing at art. That's what I thought. But we're not in an art world. We're in a commercial art world, right? Where it's specifically when we're talking about concept design. So it's like we have, there could be like technically a you could have an art director above you that's technically less of an artist than you, but know the system of how it works in that company, with how it goes to 3D. Like, they know the translation of art and design into production. That connection, that's important. That's what an art director is, So yeah. Long answer to a very short question. That's what
I
we're
mean,
doing, right?
some answer they need the right time, and that's a
Yeah.
complex.
That's cool. No, but thank you. Those are great questions, man.
No, I mean, thank you.
Gives us.
Not everybody know Dylan Cole. It's not
I'm
something
gonna get like, Dylan Cole's gonna call me. He's like, "Hey man, heard you talk about me, dude." But great guy, like there's so many great personalities in our industry, and I think he's definitely one of super nice guy, very enthusiastic, super into like helping, um, also, to be a production designer for Avatar and work with James Cameron for this many years, like you have to be a pro. Like you have to be a pro of pros, if that makes sense.
Of course.
Dude, I'm totally walking on eggshells around the real interesting part of this, which is supposed to be in front of us. So I'm just like working on everything behind. It's my way to slowly work my way up to confidence. Slowly. And after a certain point, it kind of speeds up, because I don't necessarily like to retexture the same building over and over again. I think it's actually, you know what? I take that back. I used to texture it over and over again, and I think that's how I learned the steps of exactly how to adjust the value and what layer setting to use and do it really quickly because I did it the slow way of doing it 1,000 times. And then someone showed me like, hey, why don't you just like save it out flat? Like you have this design that you made and use that to do that. And it's like, oh, you just taught me a shortcut. Oh my God. And then I started to do that. And then so it's like, but would that have clicked in my mind if I didn't do it the long way? I don't think so. I think I had to do it the long way to know that it was a shortcut. Otherwise, it would just it'd be like too powerful of a tool, in my opinion. You know, like I wouldn't be able to push the design enough to be like, oh, I want to use that in repetition now everywhere. You know. Let's design some stuff. All right, let's make more balconings. This balconing city. BC district number 3. And I'm pretty sure my perspective is like completely being butchered right now. It's probably off as hell once I put a grid on here, but you know, until I get to like a major part of it, I'm probably not going to check it. It's probably the worst thing to say. I would say like if your eye, you know what's crazy? This is what people told me when I first got into Art Center. They go, did you know that people that work at Disney can see an ellipse that's off by just a few degrees? I was like, bull crap. No way. But you know what? I can see it now. I can see it. You know? Maybe within 5 degrees, easy. You can easily see, you know? And because your eye becomes super sensitive. And so I think part of knowing perspective really well is just to know when it's off and then use it to fix it, you know? Otherwise it becomes like a really slow process, like too slow in my opinion, you know? Hey, it's starting to come together, right? It's kind of interesting, kind of fun. What else? Where is everybody from? Just like shout out your Memphis, you know.
South Carolina.
South Carolina.
Malaysia.
Nice. Oh, like you're in a different time, dude. It's pretty late, no?
Malaysia.
Malaysia, nice. Ooh, you know what? I might go there in July. For an art-related thing. I'll let you know. I'll like announce more stuff if it gets to fruition. But
That's awesome.
there could be a chance of doing this like workshop thingy out there.
Would you be interested in? Would you be coming to Singapore anytime?
You know, I mean, it's not a planned thing, but I think if I mean, it's always possible.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I actually love one of the things that I think is like actually really cool about kind of doing what we do. And if you guys are goal is to like, you know, work professionally and maybe teach or, you know, do seminars or just, you know, give back to the community, whatever it might be. Getting to travel around the world and meet other artists and do this is it's such an amazing thing, you know. And I think I don't know, just goals, you know. Some people didn't know. A lot of people don't like. I get this like statement a lot, which is, "Oh man, I didn't know you could do that in concept art. Like, I didn't know that you could like design a theme park or, you know, like, oh, the Batmobile was designed by a concept artist. Like, oh, what? Like, some people just don't know what the limitations are, and honestly, there like are no limits. That's what's kind of amazing about this. It's we serve a purpose, and we're like a service provider of visual problem solvers. You know, that's what we are.
Yeah, that's I feel that because I only found out about concept art a couple years ago. I was an engineer, and then I was like, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to study concept art.
Mm,
So career changing right now actually. Moved to Singapore,
wow,
studying concept art. Yeah.
dude, hell yeah, man! I give
Yeah, I
you
moved to
props.
Singapore with the intentions of like joining FZD,
Yeah.
and then 1 month later they closed down. I was like,
Oh
whoa.
man, are you serious?
Yeah, it's okay though, because I just kept I just like worked, saved money, and then I found well, long story short, the art coordinator there, so the teacher, the
Hmm.
second in command essentially, he
Hmm.
moved to another school, and then I met him at like Comic Con in Singapore, and I was like, oh wow, you're teaching here now, and yeah, rest
Oh,
is
right
history.
on.
Yeah, yeah,
That's cool. There's always like
a
that's
new
one thing,
goal.
right? There's always that like a an opportunity, even when it's like it looks kind of dim, you know?
Yeah, I definitely I could remember the moment where I ran into that teacher. I felt this little hope appear in my chest again.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this is a sign. Okay, I'm studying concept art. Thank you. I did
Uh-huh,
not
uh-huh.
move to another country for nothing.
Oh man, that's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
You know what's
Actually,
crazy about this? Oh, what's that?
I'm curious as well, like, because you went to art center.
Uh-huh.
I think did Fang go to art as well, art center as well? Like,
Dude, he was
and
my teacher, dude.
oh, what really?
Yeah, he was so okay, let me I'll explain the
That's so
history
crazy.
of concept design at Art Center. I'll explain the whole thing, how the birth of everything, and it's a pretty cool story. Um, so so at Art Center there are these major departments, and the three major departments I'll talk about are transportation, product design, and illustration. Those are the departments that do a lot of drawing, a lot of designing, more so product design and transportation. Product design is more based on, they design cool things like Oakley sunglasses and really cool bicycles like 10-speed racing bicycles, and they learn a lot of form and they learn about function, just like concept design sounds similar, right? Automotive design, they do the same thing, but they also learn about sexiness, shapes, appeal, gloss, making things sexy like a Ferrari, like, stuff like that. And then there's illustration, people, figures, tones, color theory. So mix all of that together. That's kind of like what concept design is. So initially there was like, guys like Ryan Church. Okay. He went to Art Center. He was same same time as Feng Zhu. Not same year, but same time. And it was funny because there's like when guys like Ryan Church wanted to learn how to paint, they would take like illustration type of things, and when other people in illustration want to learn about, dude, how do you like design a car? Like they try to learn from those, so it's cross pollinating. So one day, there's no formal classes for concept design at all, but there were a group of students who wanted who were interested in the digital painting era, digital painting, and Ryan Church had already graduated, but he's working at ILM for Star Wars stuff, and they released a really early book for like Star Wars Episode 1, like Doug Chang and Ryan Church and stuff like that. That book started to circulate around some of the students, and they're like, "Holy crap! I want to do this. This is so freaking cool." Where do we learn this? Next question. Uh, well, we go to one of the best art schools. Like, where do you learn this? So there's this one student named Jessica Lowe. Jessica, if you're watching this, what's up? You'll find out later. But she took it upon herself, plus the help of maybe some other students, to convince a high up like administrator at Art Center to contact Ryan Church and have him teach one class for one semester. He's in ILM, which is in San Francisco. So they flew him down every week. He got on a plane, flew down to LA, taught a class, flew back up. Now, mind you, like this guy's an amazing designer, and he kind of had like, he's like very high up at ILM. So that was the start. That was the first class. Only 15 students were supposed to go. But you walk into the first class, there's like 80 people trying to sit in, 80 people sitting on the floor, just like, what is this about? What's going on? And he's doing Corel Painter. He's like doing paintings, glow brush, chalk brush. We're like, what the? He's like drawing Anakin Skywalker holding a lightsaber, like doing this badass like environment. We're like, what the hell? This is so cool. Mind blown. Half of the school, half of those people that are in like those departments like wanted to do concept design now, you know? Semester following, are they going to bring him back? Are they going to bring him back? He's like, no, he can't. He doesn't want to do it. It's too much flying. It's too hard. So they brought in second class Feng Zhu. Okay, Feng Zhu was the next teacher. Now I was able to take that class. Okay, there's one you have to be at a term to take an elective, which is like 5th or 6th or 7th term, or 6, 7, 8 maybe. So you can't be in the foundation years. You had to be in the elective years to take that elective class. There's only one class. After that, he taught it again, and then Scott Robertson and Neville Page took over that class. That's when Scott Robertson handpicked Mike Yamada, Felix Yoon, and Kang Lee to make a groundbreaking book called The Skillful Huntsman. You guys heard of it?
Yeah.
You guys heard of it? That is the Art Center Concept Art Bible. It is the book that Scott Robertson published to basically use as a portfolio of what Art Center students are making in the concept design track. Now comes the birth of the concept design actual major. It happened after I graduated. I graduated with an illustration major, but so I had to balance 5 classes, right? 4 of them were illustration classes. I could take one elective, and it was always just that one class with either Feng Zhu or Scott Robertson. But I would dump all of my time into that one class and barely graduate, barely get the grades, seriously, because I had a $130,000 student loan debt that I had to face once I graduated. So I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to practice something I'm not going to do. No, I was like, I need a job, dude. Like, you know? So it was more about that. I'm going to practice what I really want to do. And I could feel the fire, you know? Like, once I saw that concept art book, I was like, damn, man. And a lot of students felt that way at that moment, too. It was kind of groundbreaking. But anyway, that was the birth, you know? Fast forward many years later, like I taught at Art Center. I taught some of their portfolio, like exit classes for their 8th term for concept, and some of their like VisCom 5, like digital painting stuff. And it's a full-blown major. Like it's a full-blown department now, you know, maybe one of the biggest ones at the school. But it started because a couple of students were just like, I want to learn this. Dude, digital painting was like so frowned upon because it was, come on, we're like talking about Art Center, which had like such a pedigree with traditional painters, you know, with oil painting, you know, just that whole route. And it was like, you know, it was kind of interesting, you know. But anyway, back to reality. Here we go. But that was kind of the time.
Nice.
So you know, imagine some of these students were like, oh, I want to do that. And then that was it. Like the the conversation just ended there, you know? Like who knows what have ended up happening? I thought my job was going to be working, like selling, trying to get into a gallery. That's what illustrators did in the early 2000s. They try to paint like these series and like sell it in galleries or work for like the New Yorker, the Wall Street Journal, like do illustrations for magazines. That's what a lot of illustrators did back then. So it wasn't like, yeah, work on Marvel. Like there was no concept of that. Like totally, you know. Anyhow,
That's so cool.
that was the times, man. Kind of feels like cowboy days or something, you know.
I speak to a lot of I network a lot, so I've spoken to a lot of people from they used to be at FZD
Uh-huh.
or shut down. So I'm like genuinely really curious because I've never met Feng Zhu, and my plan was to go there. So I was like, oh man, you were a student too. That kind of blew my mind. How long that been teaching? That's crazy.
Yeah, he was, and you know what it was. Okay, so all the teachers at Art Center were considerably older than the student base, right? So you're like, what does that do mentally? He goes, oh, I have time. I have time to get there, right? Oh, they're like 10 years older than me. I got time. And then we met Fang, dude. When we first got into class, we didn't even know he was the teacher. He was this young Asian guy, hat backwards, just chilling, you know, totally looks like a student. And then he gets up and he goes, hey, what up? My name's Fang. And we're just like, what? You're the guy that we've heard about? And he's just like doing demos. And we're just like, what the F are we looking at? Like, and at the end of class, we're just like, hey, Fang, how old are you? And he was like, oh, I'm 27. And we're like, oh, you're only a few years older than us? We're like, what? It put it into perspective. Like, so many people got their, excuse my language, their ass kind of handed to them that day, you know? And started to work, man. Started to work. Because it put it into perspective. And he goes, yeah, I'm your competition, man. When you graduate, we're competing together. And that even put more perspective. We're like, oh, thanks, Fang. Like, seriously, thank you for putting it so real that it was like, it made, at least it made me wake up, you know?
Man, like that is so real because I feel it through my teacher right now, who was his second in command, is essentially.
Mm.
Man, that guy tells us stories that are just a bit insane, to say the least.
Sure.
Like the amount of things the things he would say are like, you know, like when he was a student, he used to sleep 3 hours a day,
Mm-hmm.
and he said like, and he was saying things like, oh yeah, you know, I see the news. I know I probably won't live long, but what's the point of living longer if you can't draw? And we were like, questionable advice, but we get where your fire is. Yeah.
Okay, that's too
yeah.
much.
There's, and I would say at that time when he went to Art Center, that was the Kool-Aid, man. It was a hardcore school, hardcore. You know, like teachers would cuss you out, they'd rip your stuff apart, they'd throw it out the door, they'd step on your stuff. Like it was, and I went into Art Center like, dude, I want that. Like I actually wanted that experience. And I remember going there and I was like, wait, what happened? And they're like, oh yeah, like they got laid off eventually. Like some of them, you know, they got complaints, blah blah blah. But I was like, oh man, I kind of want, you know, like when you hear about boot camp or something, like you know, like you want to go through the real experience, you know. At least, yeah, that's kind of funny, you know.
And that's what I wanted from FZD as well. And I didn't get to go. My teacher would tell me stories about FZD, but the course I'm in is so intense that he's just like, you know, my students used to do 3 times the amount of work. You know, I'm just like, maybe this is for the better.
Yeah, you know, and I would say this though, like it's I think what if I look back at my life, I was always kind of drawn to people that were very extreme. You know, whether it was like hanging out with like the like someone that played the best sport, or because okay, so when I was young I used to do a lot of martial arts, and I got into like competing, I got into competitions. And when you get into competitions, like if you do well, like you eventually go to like state or like a national and then like a world kind of international type thing, and eventually got to that point. And I remember meeting certain people that were like world champions, and I was like, oh, like you're the best. You know that saying like there's always someone better, but yeah, yeah, but you right now you're the best. Wow, I was like, whoa, all right. And then kind of seeing what they do and kind of how they operate, it was like they were all about just that. You know, so like martial art, it was like they eat, sleep, talk, like everything was just that, and it kind of reminded me of like Luke Skywalker or like these people in a movie, you know. And I always just remember being like, oh man, I want to be like that, or I want to experience that. Not like be like that. I just want to experience it, you know? So that's where I think like the whole art center thing, like wanting that experience came from. I think that's why it all kind of spurred from there. Yeah, I need to get on this painting, man. It's not gonna paint itself. But yeah. I don't know. My dad was kind of like an extreme, not like, you know, he does extreme stuff, but he's kind of like an old school, just like do it, you know, kind of dad. You know? But anyhow, that's yeah, and I guess I get kind of turned off by things that are like lukewarm, you know, like halfway. You know, I'm just like, ah, like this like my personality is like that, you know. So it's funny, like there's this motivational guy named David Goggins. He's like very extreme, super extreme. But I like it. I really like it. You know, it's not for everybody. If you guys know who David Goggins is, then you'll know what I mean about extreme. And if you don't know who he is, look him up and just see what he's about. He's a very interesting
Stay
person.
hard. Stay
Who's gonna
hard.
carry the boats?
Dude, Pro Crew 2, right?
Stay hard.
Yeah,
I,
and
it's
it's like,
so funny. There's some video, but yeah, I can't say the same thing he's talking about because the live's gonna be recorded. But they make me laugh. These guys say, "I don't have this. I don't have that. Do you have both?" It's
oh
so funny.
man,
But yeah, I love. I don't like him a lot. I mean, I like him, but I prefer. I don't know if you know Jacko.
yeah, oh, yeah, Jocko, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
because I'm more like in his. He's more tactical. Like Goggins, he just go hard, and if
yeah,
you kill yourself, doesn't matter. You just go. You ruin your knee. I don't like. I mean, it's cool. You have a strong mindset, but I prefer Jocko. Like his mindset. I
mm.
really and I believe can be really helpful for every student or artist, like to listen and to you can apply his the things he talk about, like I mean even in art, and can help you a lot. At least for me it was really helpful, like
I
listening
agree.
his mindset, even if our thing related to war, but is the same. I mean, the thing you're talking about before about art center, like people go hard, is the same in army, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but it's
Mm-hmm.
a cool.
Yeah, man, totally, totally. But just pre-warning, it's not for everybody, you know. Definitely. Like like my wife, I listen to it sometimes in the car, and she's like, "Oh my god, this is stressing me out. This is so intense." She's like, can we just listen to music? I'm like, all right.
I remember David. He was saying, "What? You go running and you listen music? Fuck that. That's weak. Don't listen nothing." Yeah, it's too extreme.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I understand what you mean. Totally. Oh man, here now I got to work on something here. I guess should put something here. Something in the bulk. What is it? I'm not sure, but we'll use the method of Christian. We'll call it the Christian method. We'll just keep it loose and suggested, and then maybe you guys can tell me what it is. Here, let me see here. Let's get another photo. Do I have my photos up? All right, here we go.
It's looking good. It's look like almost like the focal point is the giant door with a lot of value.
Right. Yeah.
Just put David Goggins there, like him
Yeah.
running like a cyborg. Maybe next time.
Yep. Instead of like a foreground man, it's just David Goggins.
Yeah. Draw hard. Draw hard. Don't sleep.
Yeah, he's carrying a boat.
Draw
It's
all
the
night.
big man versus the
Thank
boat
you.
man. Oh man, that's funny. That's so funny.
Maybe Fangzhou was the David Goggins art version.
Dude, I think he was, dude. Like, talk about the questionable advice. I remember he was talking about when he was at like art center. He had to go into a cast because he had carpal tunnel, right? And then he was like, "Oh, but screw that, I'm still gonna draw." Like, what? Like, chill out, dude. But it's crazy, man. Or like he learned how to draw with his other hand, And he's like, "Yeah, this sketchbook right here, this is all left hand drawing." I was like, "Damn, dude, like you are hardcore, dude." It was kind of crazy. And we had the late Norm Sherman. I don't know if you guys know who Norm Sherman is. But Norm Sherman was a teacher. He passed away many years ago, very tragically. But he was the dynamic sketching creator. He was Peter Hahn's mentor. He was one of the only entertainment design focused instructors at the school. And he had these sketchbooks of all the guys that went through his class. Everybody went through his class. Ryan Church, Feng Zhu, like Robert Kondo. He's like Robert Kondo's he was at Pixar for a long time. But we would see these sketchbooks of these people that graduated that went on to these jobs, and you're like, oh, like when you see a real sketchbook, you're like, oh, right? It's cool. Pages are all weathered and everything, and you just see these books, and you're just like, all right, that's my goal. If I can walk in that footstep at this point when that person was here, then I'm on the trajectory or whatever the case might be. You know what I mean? You're on the path, the journey. You're on the trail, the mountain trail. And I was like, oh man, so cool to see that stuff. It was really amazing. But
What was his name?
Norm Sherman.
Norman.
SCHUREMAN, I believe. Yeah. But he even had like his original. Oh gosh. Okay, so he taught at Art Center, right? And he used to draw on chalk on the board. And imagine like these insane Peter Hahn drawings, but like on chalk, yellow, green chalk. He'd do like a velociraptor freaking anatomy study on a chalkboard, and we'd walk into the class because I was the next class after, and we're like, holy crap, what term is this? What term? And he's like, oh, I teach like seventh term VisCom, blah, blah. We're like, all right, we gotta wait 2 years. But he's like, I'm in product design. We're like, no, because we're illustration, right? We're like, and he starts wiping it with like the eraser. We're like, crap, man, just leave it there. It was so cool to see like things like real, Oh man, it was just a different era, I think, I might sound like old art grandpa right now, like this is how it was in my day, but kind of was,
It's cool. It's cool to hear all this story.
Yeah, I kind of miss some of that sensibility, to be honest. Maybe I have to like continue this painting next week. You know, when I used to do a lot of this paint over photo, it was so tough because I couldn't, like, photo was too powerful of a substance to paint over because there's so much detail, you know. But kind of going opposite spectrum, like going very painterly, doing painterly studies where you have to, you know what's great about like John Singer Sargent stuff is when you really do a copy, like a traditional like master copy, you'll see that he has brushstrokes. Like one brushstroke is like an entire leg. Like there's a character in the back that there's one brushstroke that's just push, pull pressure, and it's like anatomically a perfect leg. And you're like, shit, that's an amazing brushstroke. It like it takes this precision, and like Photoshop is not that. You just go, you know, undo, right? But something about doing that, it creates a balance. I would highly recommend that for any of you guys. Like, go all the way traditional. Go brush pen. Like, go sketchbook and brush pen outside, and then watch it. Like, it like recalibrates you. It's kind of cool. Well, at least it did for me, you know. And so this is, somebody was asking me like, oh, I've seen Jama and all these people lately, like in their personal time, they do like figurative stuff. It's like, yeah, they're recalibrating. That's exactly what they're doing. They're recalibrating because they do all this technical, software-driven stuff all the time. They got to go back to like seeing in simplicity and seeing in shapes and just doing, you know what I mean? Like, there's a balance to that, I think.
Yeah, I saw even Dylan Cole. He was doing a lot of painting, outdoor painting in traditional way.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. And he's good, you know? Well, that looks way too bright.
Thanks for sharing all this, like, stories of, you know, quoting you the good old days.
Oh man, I guess,
Cool.
dude, I think that's like one of the only things I can talk about. You know what I mean? Other than like, hey, this is what I'm painting right now. You know?
I don't know, it's kind of inspirational though. Like for someone like me who is, you know, dropped everything for a career change, and I guess I'm now in my 30s, but so it's kind of cool to hear everybody's path. Like I've spoken to a Disney concept artist recently.
Uh-huh.
This guy is old school, old school. I remember I was like, well, oh, so, you know, do you do 2D animation? He's like,
Yeah.
no, I did hand-drawn animation. And we're like, wait, what? He's like, yeah, I've been working on all the animations since Lion King. I think he's worked on like 10 different.
Dang, man.
Oh, that's
Like
so cool.
true
Wait,
Disney golden era, dude.
yeah, and then he's like, what are you doing now? He's like, yeah, I'm
Uh-huh.
a Disney concept artist and I design theme parks. I was like, whoa, artists really just anything, you know? It's just so cool to hear everybody's path, you know?
What's his
He's
name?
his name, let me find him. You know what?
You know,
He calls himself Mutt on our Discord, but
there's this one concept artist and illustrator name. He has the coolest name. His name is Greg Pro. Pro, Greg Pro. He is like one of the most prolific theme park concept artists out there. He is so good. Look him up, guys. And he has a brother named Andy Pro, who's like he's like a fine artist, traditional like oil painter. Awesome. They're like freaking Mario Brothers, dude. Like smashing it, man. But like I think part of working in all these different industries is actually like meeting these different quote unquote Craig Mullins of the industries, that exist in all these parallel kind of industries that use concept art. There are so many great artists. Oh my god. And then when you meet these great artists and they're great people, that's like it's even better, you know. It'd actually be easy to like meet an artist that's so good, and you're just like, oh, they're an asshole. You know what I mean? Like easy to hate them.
Yeah, I'm so scared to meet my heroes. I don't want that.
Mm.
Get those shattered. But yeah, I remember his name. His name is Lon Smart,
Oh.
LONSMART, and we were
Uh-huh.
just asking us like stories, and he's just telling us stuff that only the artist would know. He's like, "Oh yeah, I worked on this character in Cusco. I worked on
Oh,
this.
that's
I worked on this."
badass, dude. Excuse my
So cool.
language.
If he jumps on, if I talk to him again, talked to him last week. Maybe I'll ask him to join the server. Yeah,
Ooh, cool.
yeah. He's not married. He's like the
Uh-huh.
only one out of the OG Disney crew that's not married and have a family. So he's just working, and he's like, man, I want to meet more artists. Meet more artists. I was like, okay.
Dude, come on board, man. This is for you.
Oh man, it's so cool. I love talking to other artists.
I don't know. I have this idea. There's like, who was it? I think it was in our class, Tony. Who was it? Champ. Man, his name is escaping right now. But he had that bridge going through the building, you know. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna put a bridge, like a street going through the whole of that front. Let's see. Let's use this to populate. How much time do I have? I'm supposed to have 10 minutes, but maybe we'll go a little over. It's actually fun, like really just chatting, you know. Like I do some of the process that I have. It's so rinse and repeat that I'd rather not just only talk about this kind of dull, at least for myself, you know. Rhythms. Any other favorite artists that are like maybe under the radar that we don't know, or just a good old favorite that we kind of forgot about?
Zorn, if we're talking about like painters.
Hell yeah, dude. Zorn.
There's
Yes.
this one guy that's absolutely cracked that nobody ever talks about. He's pretty private. His name's Chi Wai Lao. He
Do you have a link?
yeah, let me drop his site. Why? It's like unreal. He did probably most notably like all the suit designs for Dead Space.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure other people worked on him, but he's got like sketches for like every single one and like a lot of them.
Nice.
He designed like most of the weapons too. So it was like back when their team was like pretty small. He just did a bunch of the heavy lifting on it, and
Uh-huh.
he's just like a line work master. Like it's just crazy like how he comes up with certain shape language stuff. Like is just not
Mm.
how I would think of it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Let me find it.
Which Dead Space? One or two?
All three of them.
Oh my god! I saw the concept art for the second one. They are so awesome. I never
Right?
found the artist. Maybe it's this one. It's
It's
so
the best
cool.
stuff, man. Let me find
Uh,
it. I don't know why I can't.
James,
It's
have you ever heard of Peter Rubin? Have you ever
Hey,
met
I know
Peter?
your voice. What's up, Greg?
How's it going?
Chilling. Who are you talking about?
Peter Rubin?
Peter
Uh,
Rubin.
yeah, he's a concept artist, but he's kind of in that like Rick Bowen, Tani Kunitake style where he like goes back and forth between storyboards and they
Uh-huh.
like, I think most of them got their start in like the early 90s, but
Uh-huh.
he's kind of like one of those artists that you're talking about where like he does like stage design, he does like, storyboarding, he does like VFX work. He's kind of all over the place. Like,
Mm, that's cool, man. Dude, there's so many good artists, right? It's so crazy to think about how many amazing artists are out there. That's like this is too much. Let's see.
Oh my god, this is awesome.
This is definitely
yeah, he's
not.
crazy.
Let's take a look. This
Nice.
artist is definitely not under the radar, but I was hoping I could have met Kim Jung Gi one day, but
That's so gosh, when you think about it, it's like it's still like one of those head scratchers, man. You know, so sad, dude.
Went to the first kind of not exhibition but event after it happened,
Uh-huh.
and oh my god, I'm pretty sure I was crying like half the
Mm,
time
yeah.
because his best friend is the CEO, right?
Uh-huh.
So
Uh-huh.
um and he showed us a whole bunch of pictures that are not like out there, like in the public. He was like, "Oh, this is his first few drawings." But he showed us a whole bunch of his drawings, and he was telling about his life and everything in the presentation. I remember at one point he was just like, "Oh yeah, by the way, the drawings I just showed you, Kim Jong-gi drew this when he was like 14," and we are all just like, "What the heck? That's so crazy." We thought it was his professional work. We became
Yeah,
all
right?
oh my gosh. And then he showed us a whole bunch of stuff about his life and everything. And you could tell the guy was grieving, but he said he was healing from
Mm,
the amount of like overwhelming like interest and support that everybody there was like just clinging on to every single word. He was in Singapore. They were in
man.
Singapore actually. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was great. And it was kind of cool because he was supposed to be there to do his performance, his usual drawing,
Yeah.
but he couldn't. So his students, all his disciples, came and did it instead. So it was
Oh,
very,
crazy,
very
man.
bitter.
What a gosh, yeah. It's I mean, when you know, yeah, that it's just so sad. And like it's kind of tragic because I was, as we're just talking about Norm Sherman, and he tragically passed away because he was at a party, and some unruly neighbor got into an argument, came back with a gun, and the gun discharged and shot him, and he passed. Like, it was so tragic. We're like, oh, what, dude, man. Like, you just never know, but yeah, that was a pretty, I remember, a pretty shocking moment for, like, not just the art community, but with like students, and just everybody. It was kind of like whoa,
That's quite insane. I did not know.
yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. That's
Let's
unfortunate.
design some lights.
It's looking really good.
Oh, thank you. It's fun. I feel like there's kind of like a flow. Like, every piece, I feel like, is like riding a bicycle, and like it's like first kind of really bumpy, and then it like smoothens out, and it kind of just goes. And I just
It's cool to see like every person see something different. Like right now, where you're putting this light, uh, you change the vibe of the scene. Before that, I was thinking something like more like, I don't know, like Jack and Dexter, something like really metallic city with not a lot of lightning and stuff like that. But
mm-hmm,
now
mm-hmm.
we just put in something else. You change the mood of the scene. It's cool to see
Hold on, what
how
just
the piece
happened?
change.
If you guys like Kim Jong Gi, there's also another guy that's kind of in a similar vein called Katsuya Terada, and he's constantly traveling to LA to do like shows. So
Hmm.
he'd be another person to.
Nice.
Oh, I have an art book where that guy collabed with Kim Jong-gi. Give me a sec. Wait. Let me just...
Oh, that's cool. Dude, I remember. I'll take another crazy story. So I went to do a workshop at Feng Zhu's school, like back in the day, like probably 2012 maybe, or something around there. 13, 12, 13, something like that. And I went to Singapore, and we're doing this workshop, and I remember it was like hot and humid and raining, as I remember, right? And I was like, oh my god. And I'm not good in humid weather. I suck in humid weather. And I remember I was with like my girlfriend, and we were walking around, and then we would go to like down the street into like the underground malls, and it would be really air conditioned, and it was cold. And then we go outside, and it's hot and raining again. I remember going hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. And then I got super sick, like really effing sick. And I remember being so sick that during my demo, I started to black out, right? And back then, Fang used to sit right next to the person talking and doing whatever. Like he sit, and he's like, "Hey James, you okay?" Because I was like this. I was like not moving. Like I was still holding my pen. I was just like looking at. I was like looking at the keyboard. And he's like, "James, you okay?" I was like, "Dude, I'm like seeing stars." He's like, "Go to the bathroom." So I went to the bathroom and I sat like on the toilet seat and I passed out. Okay, Fang got me and he's like, "Oh shit! Like, hey, wake up, man! Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Oh, dude, like, oh, I just need some water." He's like, "Dude, you're so pale." And then he's like, "Okay, well, James is gonna stop his demo. We're just gonna do Q&A." And I was just like trying to stay awake and I'm like trying to answer questions. Back then I was with this guy named Keikai Tokaki. I don't know if you guys know him. He's a concept artist from like ArenaNet.
Yeah.
And he was answering all the questions. Like, I'm like, "Thanks, bro. Thank you." And then I remember ending and going back to my hotel, and then I just slept for like 4 days straight. Like, I was so exhausted. I missed my flight back home. I had to like rebook. I was like, "Finn, can you like keep my hotel for like another 7 days? Like, I can't travel." He's like, "Yeah, no problem." And so I was there for quite a while, but just in bed. Like, I couldn't eat. I remember losing like 15 pounds when I was there. It was kind of nuts. So that was my last trip to Singapore, man.
Oh wow, sounds like a traumatic experience.
Dude, it was pretty traumatic. I'm like, I know if I go back again, it probably won't happen like that, but I'm kind of scared to go back, to be honest.
Well, okay, well, 2012. Wait, so you might know Kingston then? That's my teacher, Kingston.
Oh yeah, I know Kingston. Yeah.
Yeah, he's teaching me now.
Gotcha. Cool, dude. Tell him, if he say I said hello. You remember?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. He is still as cracked as before, like constantly working nonstop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, man. That was.
Do you work?
Life looks cool. What's that?
Do you work with Kekai and Jamie Jones at ArenaNet?
Oh, so I used to work at NCSoft Studios in Santa Monica, and NCSoft Studios owns ArenaNet. They're a sister company. And our studio in Santa Monica used to be a concept artist only studio. So we would work for every NCSoft branch and be a conceptual like SWAT team. That's what they kind of call this. And so I remember working with Keikai, Haraya Dochu, Jamie Jones, like that whole crew in ArenaNet. And we used to do dailies. We used to send back and forth daily paintings. We were doing Blue Sky phase for like Guild Wars 2 or 3 or something like that. And our quota was to do 5 paintings a day. So times however many team members, every morning you go in and you turn on the TV and there'd be like 30 paintings that they would submit. They're just like, oh. And then we will send them ours. And we're like, "Oh my God, ours suck. Ours suck." But then they would tell us later, like, they were like, "Oh, we can't wait to see their stuff too. We can't wait to see," and it's always the grass is greener type of thing. But I was just excited to see like Jamie Jones paintings like all day long, man. And then I don't know if you guys heard the story from last week. Maybe it was last week, and then we did like a studio swap. And the ArenaNet guys, some of them came down to Santa Monica for like a week or two to just do collaborative concept art team building. And we met Jamie Jones. We didn't know Jamie. We just knew his name. We knew he was a very awesome designer, painter, and it looks like he can paint. It looks like he's been painting for like 50 years. So we thought he was much older. He was like young. He wasn't even 21. And we're like, "Hey, let's go have a drink after work." And he's like, "I can't drink yet." We're like, "What the hell, dude? How are you so young and so good?" Yeah. Very nice guys. Very, very nice guys.
Is that where you met Fang? Because I know he was like doing art direction for ArenaNet around that time.
Oh no, so initially Fang was my instructor, but he was, yes, he was the art director. You know, so the people that came out of NCSoft were like Kevin Chen used to work there, dude. Um, Steve Messing, you know, from Avatar, he used to work there. Kang Lee, like the pedigree, like Fang Zhu, like there's so. Oh, Anthony Francisco, do you guys know him from Marvel? He's the guy that designed Baby Groot.
Yeah.
It's all from NCSoft, man.
Is that where you met Gary?
Which one?
Labe.
No, not Gary. I didn't meet him there. No, I met him
I guess
more
it was
actually
probably
more
like way
recently.
after, huh? That you went
Yeah,
there.
I met him more recently. Yeah.
Are we getting another Kang Lee workshop sometime soon, please?
Dude, if you want it,
Oh,
all you
dude,
have to
those
do
are
is
he's always
yeah,
my favorite.
ask. Yeah, because sometimes we're like, you know, oh, it's like we don't know who to, you know, invite to do workshops sometimes. But if there's any like requests or people that you were like, oh yeah, it'd actually be really cool if you could try to see if we can get him or her or whoever it is, you know.
I've been following him from Project Offset, and then I saw like his stuff from Hawken, and then I saw like now he's done towers, right? So he could talk about like the process of putting out towers, which would be pretty cool.
Let me tell you a really awesome story about our friend Kang Lee. Okay, so I went to school with this guy. We were first day there, graduated together, like the whole journey. Oh man, I got some stories, dude. I have some freaking funny stories. But actually, he was the guy with the Star Wars book in the cafeteria. He was the guy. He was drawing spaceships in a sketchbook while we were drawing hands, you know, 100 hands assignments, like that kind of stuff. And we're like, oh, King, you're doing your hands homework? He's like, no, man, I'm drawing spaceships. We're like, oh, what? How are you doing this? He's like, oh, I'm freelancing for Microsoft. We're like, what? What? How are you? Why are you? And, you know, it was a very confusing time because we didn't know that could be possible. Anyway, so we have this painting class, oil painting class, with this amazing artist named Michael Hussar. Beard, looks like a biker, looks freaking scary, smokes cigarettes in class. But dude, this guy can paint. This guy can paint like Caravaggio, man. Michael Hussar. If you guys know Sean Cheatham at all, who is another very awesome painter. If you guys don't know these names, just like look them up later. But it's good to know. It's good to expand the artist list, you know. But in that class, we had to get our first assignment was to go to Home Depot and buy a plane of glass and tape it to a drawing board to use as your mixing palette, so you can scrape it with a knife and mix oils. That's what we did. So you had to go and buy this plane of glass and buy this drawing board, tape it. You spend money. It was like $100. Broke art student, $100, a lot of money. You know. And then I remember coming to class and like he's checking everybody's thing, and Kang didn't have his, right. And he's like, oh, okay, I'll bring it next week. You know, because like he made a grade out of it, the teacher. But Kang, he goes to like the cafeteria and he gets like 3 paper plates, right? He's like, I'm gonna use this to just mix my oils, and he did that like every class. He just like, I'm just gonna grab these paper plates. And I remember that I was like, oh man, that's like, why don't you just do the assignment, right? Like, you know, I was like, what? You know, it's so odd. I didn't understand it, right? But he ever since back then, he had this way of understanding about what was a necessity and what was just a kind of a thing to do. Like what did you really need to get the job done, right? Because his oil paintings came out great. Just because he used like these paper plates didn't matter. You know what I mean? Now fast forward that he has his own company, his own video game development company. Using that same mentality of where he's like, no, we don't need to buy glass, just use a paper plate. We can shortcut that. That's why he's being so successful. Because he's able to identify these things that are like, no, we don't need to do that. That's just form, like this is waste. You know? Like get down to like the real. What's really gonna make this better? What's really gonna make this game? And so like when I talk to Kang as a buddy, I love talking to him because his mind works so different than me. That's like it's pretty cool. That's a funny story about Kang. I was like the paper plates, man. And when I heard about how he ran his company, I was like, dude, it's the same guy. Like it's the same brain figuring it out. It was just really cool, you know. Anyway, enough about that.
Who is your your biggest influence, like as an artist, or maybe even somebody else who doesn't need to be an artist, like somebody who you look for to, oh, okay, I want to be like this, or who have a good mindset that
Right,
aspire.
right. Yeah.
We know David Gaggis is one, but somebody else.
You know, I would say it's okay. At first, it was all about art. It was all about art mentors, people that knew about the technical craft in a really good way. And then after I learned about the craft, um, you know what? Oh, gosh. Okay, at school there were a few teachers. There were a couple of teachers that you know how so with Fang Zhu, it's odd. I didn't learn any art from him. He wasn't teaching us how to draw or paint. It was all about like these are formulas. These are formulas. Use this formula. Big, medium, and small. Triangle, triangle, triangle. Like it was formulaic, not like here. I'm gonna teach you how to draw the arm because that was illustration, right? Learning about formulas was like groundbreaking. Okay, so that was like one big influence. Another influence was working in the field. Okay, was like one art director. His name was Philip Straub. His name is Philip Straub. He was the global art director for EA. What a big title that is, right? It's like wow. It's almost like meeting the world champion. Like you're the top guy at EA for all of EA. Like every EA. Wow. How'd you get there? Now that's like a whole other learning. That's like you have to be good at art. Like that's like a must. But then there's like all these other things. There's like you have to know how to like talk to a group of people. You have to know management. You have to be really freaking organized. You got to do all of these other things. I was like, wow, okay, now that's the professionalism side. Then came when I started my own studio, and it was about business. It was about how do you logistically run a business, not art. Because a restaurant is a restaurant, but it's a business. Like you take food out of it, it's a core business. It has to run on logistics. It has to run on like certain things, parameters, right? Same thing with a studio. So right now I'm trying to learn from because there's not a lot of people that do, hey, I do a concept art studio just like yours and I can teach you how to do it. There's not a lot of those predecessors. So I'm trying to learn from people that just know business. So I'm going through my friend list. Hey, what do you guys do? Like, oh, I remember, I have a friend that, yeah, he was pretty, I wonder what he's doing. And you know what's funny is like when people want to learn about basketball and like your friend is really good at basketball, for example, if you are serious enough about basketball, they'll start to teach you. But you can't be like, I want to be good, but I don't want to put in the work. They're not going to teach you nothing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that's what was important is about like I was genuinely eager, like because I would meet my friend and I'm like, hey man, how did you scale your business when you started to onboard more clients? Like when you went from 1 client to 6 clients, how did you handle that scale? And he goes, whoa, is that what you're dealing with right now? Okay, this is what you do. Because like I came prepared for that meeting. Like I had a specific thing, not just teach me, you know? but that was pretty. That was one of them. And so I'm still working with a couple of these gentlemen right now that are sort of like these pillar folk that are like my next teacher, I guess. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, perfectly.
Because to be honest, right now, I don't want. This sounds weird. I don't want to learn more about art. I want to like. There are people who are like, nope. I want to learn everything about art. I want more art. I want to be better. I want to be the best. But that's not my goal. I want to kind of be like do different things with art, not be like. Because I remember talking with John Park, and he's like, dude, I want to be like the next Craig Mullins. And I'm like, holy shit, that's awesome. I don't want that goal. I don't. You know, like I don't want that one. I want like to be like that guy, you know, like someone else, you know what I mean? Because we kind of emulate these different figures that kind of envision the dream that we sort of have, you know? It's kind of like a manifest like version of it. But yeah, that's what I would say is some of the people, man.
Another thing, last question, and so I was listening to an interview from Arnold Schwarzenegger. Okay, his name is hard to say. He was saying, so basically because he has like four different careers, and he was saying that the basis of bodybuilding, like the mindset he learned there, he was just applying the thing he learned in bodybuilding, in the acting and in politics, so in this other field. Happened the same with art. Some stuff you learn from art, can you apply in business and other, or I don't know, in your school or whatever?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, I agree with that, man. And I think one thing to remember about what you're talking about right now is every experience is a ladder step. Every experience. If people think it's not, then you have to find the connection, because every experience is like you can absorb a lesson from it, you know? And I think some of the people that practice that a lot can see the lessons in almost like the most mundane stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I don't know. That makes sense, but that's at least what I'm trying to, you know, trying to encompass. You know, there's a specific time of day that I like to, when I see it, it's like after it rains and like the sun kind of comes out, there's like a little bit of moisture on very distant objects that kick a very high reflection like this. For some reason, every time I see that type of scenery, I'm like, oh, you know, like it could be at a park, it could be a parking lot, it could be buildings, an airplane, like doesn't matter. That lighting scenario, I'm just like, oh. So this is like my go-to lighting. A little bit of scribbles. I've been doing a lot of traditional painting these days. Not traditional, but like painterly kind of application stuff. So it's actually fun. It's loosening me up. I think if I did this like a few weeks ago, I would have been super tight. Been really, really tight with this. And we're just gonna keep jamming today, man. Like, screw the time limit, dude. Stick around as long as you want. If you guys need a jam, no problem. We're gonna kick it in gear next week too. But I'm just kind of feeling the flow of this painting, so might as well just keep it going.
Were you there when Ryan Church was also teaching, or was that kind of before you?
I was one of the 80 sitting on the floor. Yeah.
That's sick.
Yeah, and then I remember there was times where like he would do paint overs of the guy's work, all the students' work, and it was crazy. There was so many students, and he'd just paint over. It was like whoa, but watching him paint was like something else. So when he taught at that school, everybody used Corel Painter. That was the software to use. Nobody painted in Photoshop until there was discovery of this gentleman named Craig Mullins. We go to the library and go goodbrush.com and go, oh, and we're just blown away. We tell people, hey, come here, I gotta show you something. And we're just huddled around the corner of the library where there's like the lab computers that you could just use for free. We're like, oh my god, what is this guy? And they're like, I heard he went to the school. You know, like, it was just like, we're building this lore. You know, it was so funny, right? And then that's when everyone started to use Photoshop, literally, because Craig Mullins used Photoshop. It was so funny. It was so like, oh, we're gonna do this because this guy used it. We're gonna, like, everyone changed, you know? It was so funny.
Did you ever get a chance to work with like James Klein? Because he's kind of in that same.
Oh, he's the same. He's like, if we're talking about like boat crew, like David Coggin, the boat crew was like James Klein, Mark Gernert, freaking Feng Zhu, Ryan Church, like even Cecil Kim. Cecil Kim was part of that group. If you guys know Cecil Kim, he's like OG, like God of War crew, you know. But yeah, man, I never got to work with them. They're like a if I would ever work with them, they'd most likely be my art directors. Because they're like the full kind of generation gap above, you know?
Yeah, I was just curious because like him and like Christian Alsman, like you've never seen them like give a demo. Like it's just like hidden away. Like unless you were like at Lucas Ranch, like you're never gonna get to see.
You know who I love too is Eric Timmons. If you guys don't know who he is, he's part of he was like the painterly guy on Star Wars. Gouache.
You do environment?
Yeah. Eric Timmons.
Yeah,
he is so good. Eric Timmons art. If you don't know him, now you know, but he's sick. He also he used to do a lot of gouache paintings. Let's go Star Wars.
I think he did. You can find some art in the art book of theme park for Star Wars. There is a Kang Lee and many other. And
yeah. So this is Eric Timmons right here. He is so good. Do you guys know Paul Lassane? Paul Lassane, concept art. He's also a like very traditional, but he's like Lord of the Rings, original Lord of the Rings. Not original, but you know, the one that we all know. Gouache, dude. Look at these gouache paintings, man. These are ill. They're so sick. And if you go into DreamWorks, like Prince of Egypt, like this type of painting, it's like 12 feet wide in the lobby at DreamWorks art department. It's so impressive, dude. You know? And you go up there and like people are just like little dots. It's so cool.
You mentioned that you weren't trying to be like the next Craig Mullins. Are you modeling like your journey off of like a non-artist, or is it like somebody who does more like, you know, running studios, like art director role type stuff?
You know, I would say a lot has changed recently after I had my son. So I have a 4.5-year-old right now. So it's like COVID baby. He was born in October 2020, and because life had changed and work from home, a lot of stuff like that, like a lot of stuff got shooken up in my snow globe, you know, and art was and always was a very, very big passion source for me. But now that I have a son, there's like a different understanding of time and input and energy and like stuff like that. You know, it really puts into different perspective. So I think right now a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about is I'm actually trying to figure out my next phase. You know, in Asian culture, they kind of talk about these years, like from 35 to 45. Like you're putting in your dues to really make something happen. From 45 to 55, that's when you really grow, and you're supposed to be making some like really good money, and like a lot of the labor that you put in comes to fruition. You know, what's after that? I think I'm like in that mindset of like, okay, I gotta kind of figure out what I'm gonna do for the later years, you know, which is not, for me, in my opinion, not like be a sprinter in the art department. Like at an older age, like I don't know if I want to do that. You guys know what I mean? When I was younger, hell freaking yeah, dude. I used to pull like me and John and I, like we always worked in different companies, but we would challenge each other to be like, hey, how much freelance do you think you can do this week? Like we would have these like very morbid like challenges. Like, oh dude, I did 140 hours of work this week. Like something crazy. You know what I mean? Like, right? And we would almost like push each other to like the point of exhaustion. But I remember doing that and I was like, man, the money's great, but I am so tired. I am so grumpy. Life freaking sucks. I'm never seeing the sun. My friends don't call me anymore. It's not worth it, you know? So these different phases. I'm glad I went through that phase when I was younger, because it would have probably bothered me if I never tried going that hard. At least once for this. Paint some personality on this thing now, you know?
Do you have any like desire to like move to like an AD role or a production designer role? Like,
you know, actually, you know, come to think about it, I do want to do one more push in an art department. You know, that's definitely something that I want to do right now. I think that's kind of calling me. But yeah, like as like an AD role, something like that, like kind of step away from like running company kind of stuff.
yeah,
Would be a nice break.
Would like I know Ben Morrow did that thing where he like traveled around the world for like a year, right, and just like freelance while traveling. Would you consider doing something like that?
So it's like keep it on the down low, man. But
Yeah.
no, my wife and I were okay. So we have this friend who lived in Hawaii for a year. Right? He just packed up his whole family, his kids, his wife, everybody, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna live in Hawaii for a year, and they just came back. You know, they came back, and then they're just like, yeah, you know, kind of like back to normal. You know, like went back into their house and da da da. But he was like, that was the most amazing experience that he's ever had. You know, because it's so different, and it's like my son is at a certain age where he doesn't have to be committed to like going to school all the time, right? Like his education is good outside and inside. So, you know, and if he's in grade school, then it's harder to pull him out, you know, for obviously like a year. So there's like this window, you know. So we're really debating, we're really thinking about can we do something like that? And we've been thinking about like, so we went to Hawaii and we're like, dude, that'd be awesome, right? And then we went to the Philippines for like this workshop, and we discovered like the islands out there, and we were like, dude, you know. And so I don't know, man. It's like we'll see.
Yeah, the Philippines are pretty rad. It's just like not having stable internet is kind of a bummer, you know. But you know, I would also look maybe like Eastern Mediterranean, like Croatia,
I've
because
never
it's
really gone out there much.
yeah, they used to have like a little convention. Peter Hahn went to one called, I think it was called like IFCC.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
yeah,
I remember
I met Peter Peter there. I've met Peter on like every continent. It's weird. I'm
that.
surprised I didn't see him in Antarctica. But the it's beautiful. I mean, it's absolutely like that, and like Portugal, like southern Portugal is like if you're looking for like sandy beaches and stuff. It's
Yeah. And
absolutely
some
incredible.
of the countries where I wouldn't normally choose as like my tourist destination, like I went to Colombia and to do a workshop, and then always like I try to extend the stay a little bit anywhere I go like for a workshop. But dude, man, that place was so awesome. Want to go back so bad.
Oh, I recognize that town.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, Vegas. That's where I'm at now. So
Oh, are you?
yeah.
Right on, dude. Dude, you're just a hop over. I gotta plan a trip out there, man. Hit some tables. And I'm trying to put like streaky lights down here, but we'll see.
Do you have any interest in like putting like implementing 3D in your work, or are you just kind of this is like the process and you're kind of like this is good?
I would say that lately I've been very intrigued about learning Blender.
Hells
Let's
yeah.
go.
No, seriously, I've been like, even John calls it like, dude, Hyung, like Hyung is like a term for older brother in Korean, so he calls me that all the time. He's, dude, Hyung, you gotta get like on this track, man. Like, you're too old school, right? And I'm like, I know, but I just love painting, and I'm like, I know, but like you can figure out like there's people that do the mixture of both really well, and it's like and I'm like, yeah, that's true. So I think like slowly he's like convincing me.
You'd be really scary with it, honestly. I mean, Chris is cool just because it was like, in a way, it made me realize like how little you need in 3D to get something
Mhm.
done. I was always like, dude, I gotta get these like textures in here. I gotta go find textures and stuff. And Chris is like, nah, dude, just like slap an image on there and you're good. And I was like, what?
Yeah,
Damn.
it's like knowing the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
feel like 3D
that's
loses stuff sometimes that like almost like we become so tool reliant. I guess maybe I'm speaking just for myself and like newer artists, but we have all these tools and like they're great, but in a way they almost like start to drive design for you and you
yeah.
lose something. Like something in like 2D sometimes I think can be better. I don't know.
It's funny too because we don't work for like this autonomous concept art robot where you can do like the most latest techniques is always what's necessary. And I've worked with these like older gentlemen who are so like these older directors, um or production designers. They're like, don't show me any 3D, please. It's like by request, right? They're like, I don't want to look at it. I don't absorb it that way. So sometimes it's like you cater, and this goes back to the question about Dylan Cole, how he analyzes the situation and the need and adjusts his techniques as necessary. And so, I worked with this one production designer. He's like, yep, no, like everything. I want to see like hand drawn thumbnails. Like, hand drawn? Can I do it on the computer? Okay, that's fine. But he's like, sketch. I want to see sketching. And he would like talk about anatomy. He was like, we're talking. He was almost like having me like storyboard this like kind of a sequence. And see, I'm not a storyboard person, but they'll push you to do their style of development, right? So this one production designer is like, he loves seeing things in sequence, and I had to learn about sequence. It wasn't my forte. I'm just like a shot person. I'm like, keyframe, one shot. You want a sequence. So he's like, James, I need you to watch this movie. I need you to watch this scene. I want you to break it down. And it's like these old classic movies, dude. And where they had to really use camera movement to tell a story, not CG, which is kind of more impressive. So I just thought that was really awesome. Learning from these older guys, I think is, well, the older generation. I don't say guys, but men, women, everybody from that generation. They use different tools to solve it, and it just opens my eyes about the innovation that they use to do it. It's pretty cool. It's like, how right now, like, we look at these like old like square stones that are in like the middle of the like nature, and they're like, oh, how did they cut these? It was aliens. No, but they had a precision way to do it back then that's like old school. And it's kind of, it just reminds me of that. They had a different way to do it because they had different tools, so they solved it differently. It's just cool, in my opinion.
I think Crash McQuarrie still uses pencils, so I mean just
Dude, yeah, man.
whatever it gets done.
I forgot the guy's name, but there was this dude I used to work with at Riot. We were in the foundations team. Everything pencil, everything, right? And we would show digital paintings, and I'm like, because Photoshop, you just go bat, bat, bat. Like if you know how to do batch concepting, you can do work really fast. And then he turns in like his one hand-drawn sketch, and we're like, oh, we thought like, oh, I'm gonna impress the art director with like all this quantity, color variations, but like you brought in a hand-drawn thing, everyone's just like drops their coffee, like goes up to it close. It's just different.
It's funny, like even photo bashing, like the stuff I'm doing for work right now.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at what the rest of the team was doing. It's all like there's like we all use photos, but it's not. It's like pretty minimal, surprisingly.
Okay.
And so I'm sitting here like trying to do my, I'm gonna do the silhouettes. I'm gonna throw the photos on top, and then start going from there, which is fine. And then really quickly, I figured out why like the photo usage is pretty minimal. It's because like it doesn't work for some of these, at least the Diablo assignments. Like we'll get a brief where it's like really funky. Like some of it you can really obviously use photos for, but there's a few in there where it's like, dude, I don't even know where I'd find a good photo to bash for this, like to start from.
Right.
And so you see these dudes just like beast it, round brush something out in like 2 hours, and it's like, oh damn, I guess I got to do that, right? Like going back to basics, but it's what works.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Oh man, I don't know if I should put these lights here. I think when I'm at this point where I'm trying to fiddle with like such little information and stuff like this, I feel like I'm just like kicking around dirt. Like I should kind of stop soon. And developing, I think this like a sense of intuition where you're like, okay, I'm done for now. This is where my brain can process it till, and I'll let it sit maybe for a day or two, or probably when I look at this tomorrow morning, I'll be like, oh, I know what to do to it, because I can download the rest of it in my brain, so to speak. But this is kind of the process that I like to use to, it was almost like free flowing, right? Like I didn't have it preconceived in my head like from a sketch, but it formed from those couple brushstrokes that I put down, right? That was the container. And so oftentimes I find myself just doing that really quick three minute sketch. I do that a lot so that I can practice that variety really comfortably, because once I settle in on those few brushstrokes, like you see it controls everything, right? So it's almost like being a sprinter, the first breaking out of the blocks. It's like the most powerful way to get ahead. That's kind of like what I would practice, if I wanted to get better at this.
When you were doing 5 a day, is this about the level you would bring it to, or
I can show you.
oh, that'd be awesome.
See, the thing is, you'll see this growth curve. At first, it was like, oh, everything's hand painted, and like I remember walking back to my car with like, oh my god, I have carpal tunnel. My hand hurts so much. And then there was this time of I can't. I wonder if this is it. Yes, it is. All right. Divided by months. 07. This is 2007, guys. This is like, what year is it? 2025? This is almost 20 years old, guys. Oh, talk about archive. This is like a legit archive. All right, let's see here. So here's one. This is so old, guys. It's like, let's do pattern brushes, dodge. Let's do photo. But this is one. This is one of the 5 a day. But we had a theme. Each day was like, okay, let's do like an underwater world. So for that day, you're just at least in a container. So it was like underwater world for like that day, Later on, I would do. See, when I was at school, I was known as like a drawer, a draftsman, a sketch artist. I was very comfortable with sketching, so I would do this a lot. This would be my forte. And they're like, James, you gotta learn to paint, man. You gotta learn to paint. And I could do black and white pretty well, because I think from line to black and white is a very easy transition. But getting into color was like so hard for me. So that Philip Straub art director, I think I didn't mention why I respect the guy so much. He stayed after work with me for a month, 30 minutes a day, to teach me how to paint and color,
Wow.
so that I could be a better team member. You know, that's cool,
That's
right?
awesome. That is
Yeah.
so awesome.
So this is actually Jung Park. Maybe shoot. Yeah, but there are people like this is another guy's 5 a day. You know, like quick photo bash and just like impressions. It was ideas. It wasn't about you know
Is Daniel
precision.
Dochu?
Huh?
Is Daniel Dochu that guy?
Oh, Daniel Dochi was the other art director at the ArenaNet side.
Yeah, they have that kind of photo bashing technique. Look a lot. Who is the guy who started that kind of style?
I don't know. I would say the real there's a few that really took it to another level, like Stefan Martinier. Do you guys know who he is? Stefan Martinier. He is a photo manipulation master, and he's a very classic artist. He's older. He's a little bit older. He's part of the French, like French Canadian. I think it's French. Stefan Google help me out. Martinier concept art. But he's so good. He's so good. Like book covers galore. Like he's so badass, dude. But he worked at EA. He was an art director at EA. And then my friend Jung Park, after he graduated from school, worked at EA. He learned all this photo tricks from Stefan. And then when we worked together at NCSoft, he's like, "This is how I use photos," and we're like, "Oh," it was so cool.
Oh yeah, I know this guy. He have a class on schoolism.
Yeah, schoolism. I mean, he's around a lot, but he's great, dude. Worked on Star Wars. He worked on I Am Legend or I Robot, like a lot of different stuff, man. He's got some published books through Design Studio Press, but he's so freaking good, man. But oh yeah, back to the NCSoft. Hold on. But this was kind of the 5 a day level, and then from here, I learned how to do batch. I was like, I'm gonna start understanding how to do a quick painting, and then use that painting to make a painting, then to make that painting into another painting, right? So then, because the limitation or the fact that we had to do 5 a day was such a hard quota to meet consistently with good quality, with good ideas, you know. And this was Jung Park, man. Jung Park is the art director at Respawn right now, but he was part of God of War team. But this was his 5 a day, man. It's so good. I mean, it still looks good. And so when we show these, to the next studio the next day, that's 5 a day, and then we're turning in these and they're turning in theirs. It was just a big inspiration fest. So this is one of mine. Like I started to use textures more, learning how to like really use photos and push color more. So there's like confidence building as we're doing these. But yeah, this was kind of this is the realm. This was the visual development phase that we had. There were some really bad ideas because once we ran out of ideas, I remember doing like a fork. Like, let me show you this one. It's so funny. You guys see the fork right there? A fork and knife? I literally had no ideas that I was looking at my salad at lunch and I'm like, oh, I'm going to put a fork. What a dummy. I'm going to put a fork and knife in my environment, for visual development. And like, the art director was like, oh, I kind of like these plants in the corner, And that's when I was like, okay, I got to focus on, my technique is now, my brain needs to catch up to the technique. My technique is caught up. I can spit out the ideas. Now I need good ideas, So the next month over here, I think it was like really developing ideas. Like this was a batch. This is one of the batches. So like this one here, I was like, oh, I really like how that one came out, the one on the right, Yeah. So this was it. I learned how to use photos. Like I really learned how to use photos and use photos in a way where I wasn't afraid to just paint on top of it and control it. It's funny, man. These are These are pretty old. Oh, and then the art director goes, "Hey James, can't have scary landscapes all the time. Like you need to have like a happy landscape in between scary landscapes, so it's not all crazy all the time. So can we do some flowers?" I was like, "I'm trying. Saturation, no. I'm trying." You know what I mean? So there's this phase of trying to do color, trying to push the pastoral phase, the happy green flower phase in between the lava worlds. That's what this was. It was so challenging. I'm like, nope, I'm not gonna work for Disney or Pixar. It's fine. You know what I mean? But yeah, so it's like doing all of this, I kind of found like this repetitious palette that I like, a repetitious like composition that I like. It kind of became like a form, like I started to understand my taste and abilities were like forming together, I guess.
And was this directly out of Art Center at the time?
So no, after I graduated Art Center, I worked 2 years at an ad agency, and then I worked 6 months at a game company. So I was 2.5 years out of school.
Okay.
Yeah. Ad agency is a very big area for work for digital artists, concept artists. And man, I would say like I learned so much about Photoshop. I learned the tool of Photoshop so well in ad because everything has to be changeable. Like that building. Oh, can we move it 1 millimeter this way? Oh, let's change it to red. Oh, can you take that car out? Like everything has to be changeable because it's advertising. They get very picky about the stuff.
Kind of a note on that. The last two job offers I've gotten through ad agencies were to paint over AI. They're like, can you make this
Whoa,
not look like AI?
interesting.
And it's like,
Hmm.
hmm. Yeah, I wonder. I don't know if that's like indicative of the whole industry, but if that's something
That
uh,
sucks to hear, right?
yeah,
It's like
yeah, yeah.
never a good feeling.
Well, it's also, I was thinking about it. It's like the algorithms are trained on like the best art in the world, right? Like Disney Pixar films and like Studio Ghibli's films take like years to make with hundreds of
Mm-hmm,
people
mm-hmm.
working on them. And then like the algorithm learns on that. And then it's like, hey, can you copy this style? And it's like, I'm not like a team of 100 people. Like,
Right.
like I can't like also like, yeah. So it's just kind of like a weird thing where like I hope that's not the trend, but if it is, like, there's gonna be a lot of really disappointed like ad agencies. So
You know what? You know what's the funniest thing though is like yes, that is and will always happen, right? But the funniest thing is then you'll get that crew that does marathon that's on the completely opposite side ad agency, like cinematics that they got to follow the same plan, but it's a completely opposite side of the spectrum. That's the thing about entertainment, is there's anything like super realistic, guess what's going to open up on the other side of the pond? Stylized. Something here. There's always this thing called a vacuum. That's how life is. That's how the universe really is. And I think as a concept artist, it's also to know about some of these vacuums and understand that it's not all encompassing. You know, um, point in case is like I was working on this one game with this art director. I'm pretty close friends with the art director, and he was like, "Hey James, have a good weekend. Your art delivery was great. Let's talk on Monday." Boom. You know what came out that weekend? Spider-Verse. Okay, I'm gonna drop my pen. Spider-Verse came out that weekend. Monday, I get a call from that art director and goes, "Hey guys, we're gonna change our style. We're going in this direction now. Do you have you watched this movie? Okay, go watch it right now. Like, don't work right now. Go to the movie theater, watch it right now. Come back. Let me know what you think." God damn, that movie was sick! Yeah, that's where we want to push the visuals. All right, got it. Okay, let's start pushing art development that way. Like how quickly something can change because there's another voice out there. You know? That's why I think doing personal work, paying attention to trends, pushing your ability to like understand that, hey, if this trend is picking up, there's going to be more work in that realm. You know, For every one Call of Duty game that's made, there's like 18 copies of that game under different names.
Do you
Right?
know Bill Parkins?
Yeah, yeah.
Perkins, I don't know how to spell. So he was like he's one of the old masters, and he teach really hard stuff, but really important stuff about
Mm-hmm.
composition. And he was talking about this thing like many people right now they focus on 3D, all this kind of cool stuff, make the image fast, but the the fundamentals are the really important stuff, and that's what he look as an art director, because if you have if you have a really good fundamentals, you're able to change style. Like if you know anatomy, you can make a cartoonish, because like the muscles are the same, you
Yeah.
just change the proportion. If you know lighting value, you change the style, the
Mm-hmm.
shapes, or you make the color like a little bit more funnier to make something cartoony, or dark to make something horror. But he was saying like this, like if you have good fundamentals like perspective, anatomy, compositions, uh, you can do all the jobs basically, because you have the skills.
And you know what's the I guess we'll try to wrap it up in like the next 10 minutes. Sorry for this going so over, but dude, I'm just gonna go with the flow, man. It was a great session today. But one of the things is this: after working in the industry for a number of years, specifically with a client artist relationship, not a art director studio relationship, client, is once a client finds an artist that they can not only trust their design and artwork, but connect with them sort of on a personal level, which is, oh, I trust them, or it's fun to work with them, or I can rely on them. That rely is a huge one. Whether the project tends to shift gears or go different styles, that client will still work with you because you're their go-to person. They don't want to find another person again to reestablish the trust and go through that whole you know beginning phase again, because and I think that's what's important is art is your language of problem solving, but our industry is working with people. Even if you work for Microsoft, you're working with people, right? If you're working for James Cameron, you're still working with people. And so that can build trust. Once people have trust, it's like your mechanic. If you have a good mechanic, you'll take every car to them. You know, if you have a good doctor, you're going to recommend that doctor to your friends and you're going to trust them. That's sort of the service that we provide, for a lot of these multi-million dollar um, projects, So it's like building that trust. And sometimes, you know how they build trust? Christian, dude, I'm so sorry, man. It's 10 at night where I'm from. I need this painting in 6 hours, man. I'm so sorry, dude. What can you do? What can you do, man?
Nah,
I'll
I'm gonna
double.
go sleep.
Sometimes that is like, and that happens, guys. It happens a lot. People get into jams, and when you help someone get out of a jam, that builds a lot of relationship. A lot. You know. You got to imagine, like, who's the person that you would call if you like needed help right now, and they're like, "I got you. Don't worry, I got you. Send it over. I'll get it done." That's like a whole different side of our industry that's like not really talked about much, or it has nothing to do with art really. It has to do with like your personality, in my opinion. You know. Anyway, y'all, this was a fun session. This was great talking, guys. Had some fun art. Hope you guys liked the demo. You know what's funny is I saw this one artist. I don't know his name, but he had this like wedge shaped like spaceship on a cliff. Kind of looked like this, and I was just like, oh, that's really cool. And for some reason, I'm just like subconsciously adding it to my scene. because I know I saw it from his piece. I'll try to link it later if I can find it. But I kind of like that ship just like coming out, you know. It's the last little droplet of water, I guess. But anyways, thanks for joining the live stream, y'all. We'll do another one next week. And thanks for talking, guys. It was super fun.
Okay,
Thank you, James.
Thanks,
All
James.
right, y'all.
It's great.
See you guys next time. Peace
Bye
out.
bye.